Listen to me, Hibiscus. Just like my homie from Bugs Life said, you are a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful butterfly who will learn how to fly. Listen here and listen to me good. Hard times are coming to an end. When you all met me, what did I say? From 2020 until the midpoint of 2025, we are in a period of astrological rebirth. And we felt that death process, did we not? We had to face every goddamn consequence of our behaviors, of our ideologies, the company we kept, the lifestyle that we chose to live. It was ugly. It was really, really ugly. It was so ugly that I feel like you couldn't even tell your mum a joke because I'm like, their mother's Satan. Like, who are we cussing out here? You know, like, oh. But my point is, we're moving on now, right? In October, Mercury, which represents our psychological development, the absence of truth, all the good stuff, it's nearly finished its combustion. Yeah, that sounds ugly, doesn't it? Mentally, we were combust for a few months. It's nearly over. So please, put down the Kleenex, take a deep breath. This is where we go from endurance and survival into defiance. The cards that we were meant to be dealt have been put in our hands now. It's less about crying and more about being strategic. And I promise you, every hardship you went through, every delay, every challenge, every moment, it was for something positive. And in October, as we begin to close out this month, it's really going to hit home as to why things had to be the way they had to. And the only thing I ask is you happily, gracefully, and powerfully walk into the path of transformation. You are not rewarded for clinging on to the past, for being nostalgic. None of that shit. Cut it out. You are a caterpillar. We are about to literally rip out of whatever that weird ass cocoon it is they are in, and you are going to fly, and you're going to learn how to lose your wings. So please, grab a cup of jar, get comfortable, and let's talk about it. Let's gossip about what does Mercury represent. So in Vedic astrology, Mercury hugely indicates the way you rationalize what's happening around you. So as you know, astrologically, we are in a period of rebirth, but we're in the final lap, right? So we've gone through a whole process of death and destruction. The issue is how do you process that so you can move on with a lot of grace? So consider this, right? Sometimes people go through hard times and they will waste their energy and talents and skills by clinging onto these experiences and try to understand, why did this have to happen? And they can get into this mindset of like blaming themselves, shaming themselves. It can get really ugly quite quickly. So we don't want to be doing that, right? The whole point is you're a beautiful butterfly. We're going to use those wings. We're moving onwards and upwards. So let's keep it going, right? Then you have the next type of person. This is a person who's avoidant of any self-awareness or accountability. So I do try to let you all know that, look, you are made up of several different types of garments, and sometimes you are not the main character, right? But at all times, we need a certain level of groundedness to understand if our conduct in that experience, in that situation, with that person was the best it could have been. Now, people have different answers for that. That's okay. But the important thing is, if it was not okay and you were moving mad, you know, let's end that there. Period of death, period of rebirth. We can shed all this stuff. We faced what we had to face. Now you understand why that shit blows up in your face if you behave like that. Let's not do that moving forward. And then we have the final person, who is my favorite person. This type of person takes every challenge, conflict, stuff that happens around it and uses it as a learning moment. Mercury is also your psychological development, right? So yeah, hard times were always destined to occur between 2020 till 2025, right? But they shape you, and you always have to kind of look at it this way. Whatever goes down is somehow, some way leading me to wherever I'm meant to be. So let me study this, let me learn this, let me pick up the pieces and see what I can build that is solid, that is stable. That's cool. You need that level of rationale into you to know it's time to get up and move on. You don't want to be a victim who sits in the ashes of their own destruction, who clings to a past that doesn't exist and is not stable. The thing is, when Mercury and Sun tend to meet in terms of an active horoscope, Mercury represents an absence of truth, right? The Sun is an illuminator. You are put under, and this combination is coming to an end in October. It's been playing out over the last couple of months. There are some unavoidable truths now, right? You have utmost clarity. You cannot cling to ignorance because it's just not that. Any kind of missing puzzle pieces, well, they were given to you. You can see what the bigger picture is now. But would you like to put that puzzle piece together? Or you want to still act like, oh, I don't know, we can keep trying to put in pieces that don't fit and feel fucked off with why our perfect picture looks wonky and shit. Come on, hibiscuses. Like, this is my thing. This is, and I said it a lot, and I really do mean this, you will not be rewarded for playing dumb, for upholding beliefs and outlooks and approaches that are not serving you. Like, I think it's interesting because in October, a lot of my favorite comedians have been putting out content where everyone's like, it's not cute to look dumb or ill-informed. Like, it's so ignorant. No one wants to babysit you, all of that. This is you. Nobody wants to be around that person. Clarity, vision, strategy, get up, right? And again, if there has been any missing puzzle pieces to this date that you haven't been able to get, they're on their way, right? And again, just because Mercury represents psychological development, I would ask you to reflect. Are they missing like puzzle pieces, or are you acting like legally blind? Like, that's just a question I have for you. As I try to outline on this slide, October's energy, if I could summarize, especially when it comes to the Mercury part, is about truth. You're no longer allowed to play in deceptive energy. Any lies you want to uphold, they're going to be exposed. Any kind of things where you're trying to perpetuate partial truths or tamper with the truth or stay in whatever illusions make you comfortable, it's a hard no from God. Like, I'm letting you know, you were not rewarded for your ignorance or any deceptive behaviors. But what you will be rewarded for is problem solving. And don't get it twisted, right? Again, we're in a period of transformation. This is not about trying to resolve things with people and circumstances and environments that have no intention of changing. What this is about is understanding what you have been through, what it has taught you, and then being blessed with so much inspiration, so many insights, so many solutions, so many different ways of looking at things that you can create a new reality. You can change the trajectory. But again, you have to be able to accept the truth and look at things realistically. You will not be rewarded for dilly-dallying in illusions. With that, let's talk about the sun. Now let's gossip about the sun. So, when it comes to the sun represents the impact of our personality, right? But it also represents like our courage, our confidence, challenges, oppositions, and cruel behavior. So let's look at it from this angle. Obviously, the name of the game was tough times. That's the season that we're leaving, right? Death, destruction, clarity, consequences, all that life fluffy stuff. When people go through those experiences, it has a deep impact on our personalities. Now, some people will take all that and they'll be like, cool, I know better now. I'm going to be more confident. I don't care what people think. Last time I missed out because I didn't put myself out there. What's the worst thing they can do? It can really, again, Rahu, the planet of destiny, is going through Uttabhadra. That's Pisces type 2 to 5, but that talks about a beautiful lotus flower blossoming through muddy waters, right? Getting that fame, putting in that work. It's very much that season of, you may have hated me and tried to hold me back, but now I flourish. And that comes from hard times. People can only cry for so long. People get sick of sitting in that, right? So they change psychologically. If they don't have the confidence, they'll try and figure out how to be confident. They'll start faking it until they make it. It can have all that. Other people go through stressful and hard times and it hardens and jades their heart, right? Think about, again, sun represents ego, right? Sometimes we experience certain stuff and it is that painful and it is that hurtful that we will completely reject our own soul, change our whole alchemy, and our whole personality will become based off pain to make sure we can never experience it again. And the issue with that is, it's not necessarily bad theoretically, but then what do you do if you start rejecting stuff, ignoring your own wants and needs, and like just disregarding all the things that make you you and are really meant for you just out of fear? So when the Mercury and Sun come together, again, it's a time of reflecting on how hard times have shaped you. Where do you want to go with stuff moving in the future? And again, it's problem solving. It's about getting up, standing back, and not just wasting time fighting back. Moving on. Like, don't even allow the same things to be in your vicinity and to be able to harm you again. But there has to be a balance here, right? Flourishing vibrantly, the newness is the newness kind of thing, not clinging on to stuff, not closing up your heart, not getting so wrapped up about getting your lick back. None of that, right? And the other thing I thought was interesting is the characters that Mercury and Sun play, right? Because Mercury is a young prince. It's known for youth. The Sun is like a seasoned king or leader who has lived through many battles and is strategic with when he wants to pull the trigger. So then you have two clashing. You have a prince who's very optimistic but is a know-it-all. And then you have a king who, you know, doesn't want to give up power easily, has lived through several things, and definitely is more suspecting of stuff that the prince won't pick up on. Put this all together, October is really about a time where you pattern up here and you get to a place where you're wise and strategic, so you can't fall into the traps where you've been taken back, but also you have a sense of optimism about moving into the future. I told you, Mercury combustion will make you assess your own ways of reflecting and dealing with things. And again, in October, you're going to get very clear glimmers if the way you've been seeing things is helpful, or if you've been hyper paranoid, if you've been foolish and naive about certain things. But either way, it's about onwards and upwards, a phoenix rising from the ashes. Literally like that thing from fucking Harry Potter, onwards and upwards. Come on, babes. The last thing to keep in mind, right? Mercury and Sun also house our ambitions. There is a certain energy in October where you will get glimmers that you can have the destiny that you want, but you will be tested on your approaches. Mercury and Sun together sometimes can create tricky characters that will do anything and be able to justify it when it comes to fulfilling their goals, if unbalanced, because remember, we believe in free will. What I'm saying is, don't be a victim of other people's heinous behavior. And as you start to get influence and power and that upward trajectory, you go on to make the same mistakes and do the same stuff of the people who hurt you onto others. It's going to be too easy to fall into that trap, so make sure you don't. Now let's assess the star signs that these two animals have been going through. So now let's talk about what this combustion feels like when it goes through the different nakshatras, because there's so much to discuss. Now, you have to remember, Sun and Mercury are under the influence of Ketu, so there is a deeper thing here of having absolute clarity about what happens when we uphold bullshit, to put it gently. So just remember, right, Ketu, when it goes through Hasta, which it currently is, talks about being freed from manipulative speech. So this is very much the season of any type of deception, mask, or inauthenticity slipping and dissolving away. So originally it began in the Leo nakshatras, and it began in Marga, right? Marga is Leo type 1 to 4. It represents our innate values. It holds our ancestral line. It holds our religious beliefs, our political beliefs, right? What are you really about? What inspires you to live the life that you do, pursue the things you do, keep the company you do? And you have to remember, this is about a phoenix rising from the ashes. So there was always going to be an innate pressure put on you when it comes to these things to really sit and reflect. Is this working for you? Is this holding you back? Are you upholding anything that is ugly, impacting your psychological development, right? Very funky stuff. And then it moves on to Pufaguni, right? So Pufaguni is Leo type 5 to 8. It houses a lot of our material pleasures, right? It deals a lot with our amusements, our entertainments, the things that bring us joy. Now think about the interconnection about our innate values and what we deem to be pleasurable, right? There's a whole conversation in that. Are you chasing stuff secretly because you feel it goes against your innate values and your beliefs, and is it getting you into funky situations? Are you ashamed of going after something because something about your beliefs and values and ancestral line holds you back? You can see how it starts to really shape up, right? And then it leads us to this like kind of implosive moment with Uttara Falguni, because Uttara Falguni it's a sign that spans between Leo nakshatras and Virgo nakshatras, but it's about our partnerships and choices. Uttara Falguni's literal power is the power to make a choice. So when it is revealed to you that the way you've been rationalizing the world is either great, not so great, needs evolving, then comes this very serious moment where you are given choices and experiences to reconcile them in a way where they're not so at conflict, where you can be more at peace. And again, if you have been in any type of way deceptive or inauthentic with yourself, yeah, things were always meant to come crashing down. And I find it fascinating that during this transit, like young Fiddy's been exposed. You've had so many TikTok creators who've been like priding themselves on being like these like activists or social right do-gooders, and they've been, yeah, it's been a shit show. The mask has definitely slipped, right? But again, who are you aligning yourself with? Either then, do you align yourself with a certain company because they're actually friends and these are good partnerships, or is it all about the way you look and you want to appear a certain way? Yeah, it's really not lost on me that young Fiddy went down during this trait. Anyway, then you had the Mercury combustion happening in the Virgo nakshatras. So Hasta deals a lot with business and children. So now you're on a trajectory about, look, after you have these kind of very stern realizations about your rationale, how you're viewing the world and your perception, then you start to understand how it impacts the way you grow, the legacy you build, the house you want to home with people, right? Are you carrying on patterns and behaviors out of fear, or have you cultivated a mindset because you deeply value it, and for you this preservation is happy and healthy? It brings out a lot of serious conversations that you've got to have with yourself. And again, transformation, picking things differently. Then it goes to Jitra, which is home and health, right? So the way you are rationalizing the world around you, the way you are viewing truths, how is it impacting your literal well-being, physically, mentally, and spiritually? Are you burnt out and exhausted because you've been cosplaying as someone else? Are you frustrated because you're not in a space where you feel like you can be your true self? Either way, decisions, actions, choices, moving, transforming, grooving. Nothing is rewarded for staying stagnant or clinging onto the past. Then you have the final throes, which is the time that I'm speaking to you in, right? So it's going to wrap up in Swati, which deals a lot with our social circles and trade. So once you come to this realization about the way you view stuff, the person you're showing up as, the way you communicate, your character essentially, it will either give you a lot of inspiration about your social standing and give you the courage to go towards new friendship groups, new industries, and like the pep in your step, right? Because now you feel more capable, knowledgeable, like you've lived, you come with that experience. Or it'll be a fall from grace, and you can find yourself going towards looking after things and people that are not really that great, and it's all because you just don't want to deal with the reality and the truth of things, or to a certain extent who you are. And then it will finalize in Vishaka. That's talents, goals, and finishing the battle. I think you just have to ask yourself sincerely, after you've had these very, I would say, stressful, challenging, ample room for change and transformation kind of months, what's the end goal here? Like, truly, what is the end goal? Do you feel like you learn and you feel more empowered and smart to deal with stuff? Or like what? You want to stay in the same rot that is dissolving you? Do you want to Because also, when I think of Mercury combustion, I often think of someone who acts like they're really smart and isn't, right? It's someone who will act like they know loads of different stuff, but they don't know how to practically apply it to situations or bring it to life for people. Do you want to keep up this illusion where you look much more shiny and sparklier than you are? And it simply comes from you don't want to be vulnerable, you don't want to do the work, you don't want to put yourself out there. So then all you are is a hollow piece of a person. Like, come on now. But to people who endured, victory is here, baby. Journey of rebirth. We should probably talk about what to do with all this energy next, actually. Let's get on to it. Look, 2024 has been relentless. All these challenges, all these obstacles, all these delays, all these moments that have really made you feel burnt out and up against it, they weren't anything new. They were accumulation points. They were very severe experiences to make you understand that if you carry on in this trajectory, this is what it will bring. And it gave you that in such heavy doses and extremes, so the lesson really sinks in. So when you reflect about what are you meant to do with this energy and how do you feel, well, there's several steps. I think number one, just coming to a place mentally where one, you are rested, number two, you have digested what has happened, and number three, learning your lessons and moving on. Like, it works in those layers. Once you've gone through that process, it's about adapting, it's about being dynamic, it's about being different, challenging norms, shining brightly. But you need to understand, think about Mercury combustion represents clarity. Think about all the different nakshatras and what they represent. You were given clarity in each and every one of those areas. Now that you have it, right? What new solutions do you have that you didn't have before? What insights do you have that allows you to pick better environments, better people, better different daily habits so you can flourish? Hibiscuses. I cannot emphasize this enough. The past is done. There is no going back. And again, you have free will. You can cling to it. But you will be sitting in a cemetery for a really fucking long time. And everything that follows, I just want you to be fully aware it's because you couldn't let go of the past. And you chose to waste your energy overthinking and clinging onto stuff that was so clearly highlighted to you is not for you. Please put it down. But you wanted to be crafty, you wanted to be sneaky, so you face the karmas of that. The rest of you, get up, hibiscuses. You have survived the worst of the worst. There will be other stuff that comes up in the future, but now you have the knowledge about how to overcome. You're no longer like just a fresh spring chicken, right? You know how this goes. So you won't fall for the same obstacles. You won't keep the same bad company. And also, you will have such a, I feel like a real bold confidence that you are absolutely capable of building the life that you want, and you are deserving of the things you also desire. But you just had to be put through the ringer to know that perhaps certain elements of what you were chasing were not compatible or right for you. And also, Mercury and Sun deals a lot about our relationships with other people, right? Authority figures, our support social circles, all that kind of jazz. I didn't touch on it much, but perhaps maybe the deeper lesson here is maybe the road ahead will require a switching of relationships in our life. And maybe the people who are choosing to cling on to you were clinging on to you because you were actually much better than them and you brought everything to the table. But you couldn't see that. So the power dynamics were off. You kept thanking everybody when it was you that was creating it. So essentially, yeah. Put down the fucking Kleenex, you prick. It's time to make a change and get onto it. The process of death is finished. Rebirth is nearly over. You're on the path that you're meant to be on now. It's up to you if you like to walk down it. But yeah, sit in the dark or move forward towards light. It's up to you. Bye, Hagrid.